Let's work on question B now. So what's going to be the tax on coffee necessary to cover the cost of planting the flowers? What's going to be the excess burden of the tax? And what is the increase in the welfare for having access to those flowers? Well, let's see. First of all, we saw in the previous video that it's efficient to plant all the baskets. So if we want to plant 100 baskets, it's going to cost us €1 per basket, meaning we need to raise €100 in taxes. That's the first step. So we need to raise €100 in taxes. That's 1 times 100 equals to 100. Now, what's going to be that tax? Well, the tax we're raising is from the coffee. So we'll have a tax that we charge for every cup of coffee times the quantity demanded of coffee by the students. What's going to be the quantity demanded of coffee? Well, we have the function over here, but there's one thing to keep in mind, that now we are charging the tax. So the price that the students are going to pay is going to increase by that tax level, meaning that the quantity demanded of coffee that we'll keep in mind is going to be equal to 300 minus 100 times the price of the coffee plus the new tax that we are charging. So we're going to substitute this into our tax function. And this is really probably the most important thing, to keep in mind that if we're working with a tax, we must add it to our price. So the quantity demanded goes over here, and we will have the tax function equal to the tax on coffee, so the tax on coffee, times the new quantity demanded function. And that's equal to 300 minus 100 times PC, let's open the brackets over there, 100 times PC, minus 100 times TC, minus 100 times, let me show it like that, 100 times TC, right? The tax on coffee. What else do we know? We know the price on coffee. We know the price on coffee is given equal to €1, so we can substitute that into our function over here. That's going to be equal to €1. So this over here is going to be equal to just 100. Now we can open the brackets to find the tax function, and that's going to be equal to the tax on coffee times 300. Hold on. The tax of coffee times 300 over here. So that's equal to 300 times the tax on coffee minus 100 times the tax on coffee, and minus 100 times the tax on coffee times the other tax on coffee. So that's going to be equal to 100 times the tax of coffee to the power of 2. What else can we do here? The tax revenue is going to be equal to 300 times TC minus 100 times TC is equal to 200 times TC minus 100 tax of coffee to the power of 2. 100 tax of coffee to the power of 2. Now we also have to keep in mind that this tax revenue must raise €100. It must cover the cost of planting the flowers. So this tax must equal to 100. This is going to be equal to 100. What can we see? We have a quadratic function over here. So let's take all numbers on one side and solve it. And let's write it with the quadratic term first. So that's minus 100 TC to the power of 2 plus 200 times TC. And we take this one to the left side, minus 100 is equal to 0. What can we see here? It's a quadratic function with a negative coefficient, meaning that we have a parabola that looks something like that, so that we have a tax on coffee that is optimal, that maximizes this tax revenue. And when does that happen? It happens when we are here on the peak of that graph. Okay, so let's solve this. If we divide everything by 100, what do we get? We will have tax, it's going to be minus the tax of coffee to the power of 2. Minus the tax of coffee to the power of 2 plus 2 times the tax of coffee minus 1 equals to 0. All right. Now, how can we solve it? Let me see if we can use that. Quick rule. So we have to multiply to get minus 1, and hold on a second. So yes, we can use this shortcut when we work with the quadratic functions, but before that, let's make it into a normal quadratic function with the positive coefficient here by dividing both sides by minus 1. So we will have tax of coffee to the power of 2 minus 2 times tax of coffee plus 1 equal to 0. Now what we're looking for this. We're looking for two numbers that when we multiply we get 1, and when we add we get minus 2. So that would be minus 1 and minus 1, right? The math works out. Meaning that this quadratic function can be written as tax of coffee minus 1 times tax of coffee minus 1 equals to 0, well, there's just one possible solution for it, and that's when the tax on coffee is equal to €1. So the optimal tax on coffee that we are going to charge is going to be €1. That's just one part of the question. We also need to find out the excess burden and the welfare, and we'll do so in the next video.